Tim. Thanks to the rise of tradesmen sharing their knowledge and experience on YouTube, there is now a competence glut in the disinformation tidal wave that is the internet. That means there's growth opportunities and whatever the opposite of that is. My name's Tim. Welcome to my shop. Well, here it is, the 1956 Monarch 10EE. Manufactured in Sydney, Ohio, first sold to Federal Communications Laboratories, still got the tag right here. It made its way to me through Tom Lipton's shop over at the Benicia Arsenal, and now I have it. The Monarch 10EE is just a classically beautiful machine tool. It's just got great big curves, and the lasting just looks so beautiful and heavy. All the knobs have just beautiful finishes, nickel plating. The make of the square dial for the thread selection just looks so good, and all punctuated by that perfect onyx tachometer right there in the middle of the headstock. The Monarch 10EE is just a classically beautiful machine tool that has been manufactured with only minor aesthetic changes since 1939. Defense spending created research dollars that created asks that no machine tool at the time could fulfill in terms of accuracy, repeatability, and power. Thus, the Monarch 10EE was born. Beyond its good looks and super robust spindle bearings, the 10EE had something that put it head and shoulders above nearly every lathe offered at the time. The 10EE had a stepless speed control that used a belt in the final drive. So in the days before microcontrollers, there weren't a lot of options for varying the speed of your spindle. And before the Monarch 10E came along, if you wanted to vary the speed of your spindle to go really slow or turn on something really hard or really big, all you could do was change your gears so that the ratio of speed between the motor output and the spindle would change. If you wanted to go faster, you changed to a faster ratio. But you were limited to those steps that in the gears that you had. If you had a 10-speed gearbox, you had a 10-speed lathe, and that was pretty much it. So the Monarch has a totally stepless speed control controlled by this little rheostat right here, which will take us all the way from 200 RPMs clear to 4,000 RPMs, which is kind of insane. I've never actually worked a lathe this big that can achieve that kind of spindle speed. The one we have at work only goes up to 2,000 RPMs. The Monarch 10EE did this with a hydraulic drive system that had originated back in its first build. I haven't been able to find a lot of information on it, but it persisted for a few years and it was replaced by the motor generator variety, which is generally considered to be the most robust version of the Monarch. That was a pretty loud system from people I've heard that have run it, but it's just bulletproof. That was followed by what we have here, the WIAD. The WIAD, or works in a drawer, because not only did Monarch lead the world in machine tool manufacturing, but also in drawer technology, used current sensing relays and transformers to pull all kinds of tricks beyond just the speed control system. When the tool would engage the workpiece, a compensating system would actually sense the current rise of the motor and increase the voltage of the armature to compensate to maintain constant surface speed. Common today among turning centers that recognize the G96 modal command, this was really groundbreaking at the time. As far as I know, there was no system like this anywhere else, not in the preceding Monarch 10EEs, including the hydraulic and the motor generator versions. But the only thing that was really detrimental about this system was the tubes. Tubes go bad, and we don't really make them anymore. And this thing has a couple of them. These are mostly gas-filled tubes. We have a couple of Thyratrons, the really big, beautiful ones. We have a couple of smaller Thyratrons below that, a full wave rectifier. We have a timer. We have just a whole bunch of stuff. But so this thing doesn't turn. Right now, the spindle doesn't turn. Now we're going to go ahead and try to fix it as it is before we move on to the other thing that I've got. So when the Monarch's plugged in, we get a behavior that is pretty typical for a lot of machine tools that are on the fritz. The contactor won't stay latched. So what I'll do is I'll just go ahead and demonstrate what happens for you guys. when the lathe is plugged in. So that's turning, and you can see some of the filaments in the tube starting to warm up. Now, we'll come back to those in a second, but these two tubes up here are what they call Thyratron tubes. And they are not vacuum tubes. They are actually gas-filled tubes. I believe it's argon that's in them. And each one serves the purpose of rectifying the AC current before it goes to the motor. If you don't have one of those working, well, then I imagine the lathe doesn't work. So, it's all on. Let's go ahead and test the start button. Ignore all this. So let's... Okay, you can hear the contactor close, but it does not stay closed. So one thing that's really cool about old machine tools is a lot of times on the inside cover somewhere you will find a schematic that has absolutely everything on it that is specific to your machine, which is super nice because there are lots of different versions of the 1956 Monarch 10EE. Well, not the 56 version, but there's lots of different versions. And this one is pertinent to mine. And so when you go searching on the internet for Monarch manuals, you don't know if you're getting the right one for yours exactly. In fact, I put mine on order from Monarch themselves, given my serial, and it should be here sometime next week. So I saw this schematic, and I was like, oh yes, I can finally figure this out. I can figure out what's wrong. And I just stared at it and furrowed my simian brow for about a week, just willing myself to try to suddenly understand the schematic and what might be wrong, and just gave up. And then I turned it over and I saw, whoa, a troubleshooting manual. So if we look at it, and the opposite side, troubleshooting suggestions, where do we... Machine completely dead, green start button not glowing. We get that. Filaments of tubes not glowing. Incoming lines dead. Fuses and disconnect switch open. Let's go down, let's go down. Oh, main contactor closed, but spindle will not revolve. No, we don't even get that. Main contactor closing when the start button is depressed, but falls open when the button is released. That's like what we have. First thing, defective 3C23 tube. Well, Tom actually already replaced that one. Next one, defective 6SF5 tube. That one seems fine. They're all warming up. 10 ohm resistor in series with anode lead of 3C23 tube open. I ohmed that out, and it is actually fine. 3 ampere fuse open. Nope, they're closed. Field failure and relay contacts not making contact. So I'm going to try pushing the relay together with the surgical 2x4 as I press the control on button. Oh, it's stuck. That's the motor. Oh, we're spinning. Look at that. Gearbox is not connected, but I've backed it off. That's really screaming. Oof. Okay, you can watch. See the contactors work. And see if we can't see the anti-plugging relay work. There it goes. So that's kind of it. I just kind of wanted to get that first video out and get over that hump and kind of discover my sensibilities, because this was actually really hard when I first tried to make a video about the Monarch. I realized as soon as I started talking in front of the camera how full of shit I am, and I really had to get my facts down. And that meant a lot of study and a lot of time, and I kind of had to think about what I wanted this channel to be about. Thanks to the subscribers over at Ox Tools for pushing me into making a video about the lathe. My first 4 subscribers, by the way. Hi guys. And I think next we'll do is a video about how the WIAD speed control system works, because I really learned a lot about DC motor speed control theory through that schematic. I mean, it was really hard to understand, but I did arrive at a level of understanding that I feel is substantial enough that I want to share it with the greater community, because I think there's a lot to learn there. If I said something wrong in this video and I didn't correct it with a text box or something, please let me know in the comments. I don't want this to be somebody who's just spreading disinformation on the internet. There's enough of those. Yeah, so after the WIAD control, then we'll go into a larger teardown of the lathe mechanically in that order, because I'm not confident that the WIAD will work as soon as I put it back in once the disassembly is complete. If you watch any of Keith Rucker's videos on vintage machinery, his disassemblies go wrong plenty of times. You break something that doesn't come apart the way you thought it did, and you are up a creek, man. So if I can help it, I don't want to arrive in a situation like that. So it's going to be a very careful disassembly. So what do we call this channel? Well, I'll tell you the story of that blue sticker that was in the beginning of the video. So I used to work for Megabots, and when we were in Japan for the duel, I was walking around Tokyo after it was all over, and we went on an odyssey through the Japanese hardware stores of Tokyo, and we ended up at a place called Tokyo Hands. It was amazing. And in the hardware section, I was looking for lots of industrial stickers and things like that, because I think that's just so cool. And I found one that had a picture of a light bulb and a frying pan, and I just didn't know what that meant. And it turns out in Japan, they have trash incinerators everywhere, so it's important to label trash that can't be incinerated. And that frying pan light bulb symbol is unburnable garbage. And so I think that's just a hilarious thing to have on my car and drive around with, being that it is indeed unburnable. So, and as a metal worker and somebody who does that kind of work, I think that's a pretty apt name for a channel like this. So, unburnable garbage, bye for now.